spongy, some smell like absolute garbage.
It's kind of, yeah, well, yeah. And it blows ice cold air right up your shorts if you're wearing shorts or skirt.
I've never wanted a dead battery more than I do now.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Billy Built. In today's video, we're going to be basically, as you probably guessed by the title of the video, we're going to be going over everything that you're missing out by not owning even a stock Mark III Supra, or probably any Supra in general, honestly. But today we're talking about the Mark III in particular, and it's a very close friend of mine who actually helped me get my car. You guys have probably seen me mention him a couple times on the channel. So I'd like to introduce you guys today to Eli and his Mark III. What year is it again?
It's a 91.
91 Mark III Supra. Is probably one of the cleanest examples in the area that I'm familiar with. There's only one other cleaner car that I know of, and we both know who that is.
Right.
And
it's the red machine.
It's on his shirt. Also, keep in mind we're in the middle of a street here. We're gonna be dodging cars here, so. So I gotta interrupt this video because now is as good a time as ever to finally introduce you guys the Billy Built Mark III shirts. It says Super Dynasty at the top, and obviously we got a Mark III with a little bit of an 80s theme on it. I worked really hard on this shirt. Also, this one that I'm wearing right now will also be live on there. Go ahead, check out the website, billybuilds.com with a D. I'll put the link down in the description below. Let's get back to this video, you guys. Hope you enjoy this one. All right, so Eli, give me the lowdown. What are we looking at behind me? Tell me a little story about the car. What are we looking at here?
So this is a 1991 Toyota Supra Turbo. It's a Targa Top factory 5-speed. So I got the car from the guys at Induction Performance. I actually got it from Fernando Alvarez, and this car actually it's a funny story because when I worked at Induction Performance, it actually used to live on a lift behind me. So I would see this car every single day. I would bug them about it. You know, it belonged to Fernando. He had some plans for it, and actually, it was sold at one point.
Oh, it was actually Fernando's car.
No, yeah. So he owned it.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So it was the original owner. He got it from, and they moved here in 2006. So
Jesus Christ. So
yeah.
It was a long history for them with this car.
For sure.
Wow.
For sure, and they had a close relationship too. So,
wow.
But yeah, the car literally, I would see it every day. I'd bug them about it, and. You know, at one point the car was sold to another friend of ours.
Okay.
He lived out of state. Long story short, that thing fell through.
Oh.
I actually moved on from Induction Performance, and I went to a new career.
Right.
And I was able to come up with some funds, and I said, hey man, let's do a deal. That car is still there. He ain't gonna come get it. So after some back and forth with Fernando, he made it happen, and it came home. Yeah.
That is awesome. So so they pretty much worked on it. It's still mostly stock, correct?
Yeah, it's mostly stock. Some people like or hate this term, but it's OEM plus, if you will. Yeah, it's in a trim now where I can enjoy it. Come do something like this with you.
Right.
I can go to Cars and Coffee.
It's turnkey, ready to go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it sounds and looks the part. Is that kind of what you're going with as far as like modifications on it? Because it looks like, I mean, you got. I got. I don't know if you want to call them upgraded wheels, but I got some different wheels on mine. But I think you said earlier that these are actually Mark III wheels on yours, correct?
Yeah, so the 91, 92 Supras came with this style wheel.
Okay.
Not the saw blades like your car and the 86.5 to 90 had, but 91, 92 had kind of a teaser for the Mark IV wheels. So that's what you're seeing there.
Okay.
I get that question a lot, actually, like, oh, those are the Mark IV wheels. No, it's actually 91, 92 specific wheels.
Yeah, they look very much similar. Okay, so I had to put the camera down. My arm was getting a little tired. What is your history with Supras? Because you yourself have a huge history with these cars in particular too, right?
Yeah, this is my 7th Supra.
Oh.
And
I knew you had a few, but I didn't know it was that many.
It's not really like I had 7 badass Supras, right? I had
all Supras are badass, aren't they?
Well, several. Let's see. I think honestly, maybe 2 or 3 of them were parts cars. Maybe 2 of them were parts cars,
okay.
if I'm being totally honest. So if I bought one at a Shell gas station that was a project car.
Well, wait. Let's go back. What year was this, too? Because Supras varied at a very wide range. And I know they were very plentiful around 2012. Like, you get them for like $600.
Well, this was long before that. So I was in high school. When I got my first Mark III Supra, it was a 1990 NA Supra that actually had...
but you weren't in high school in 1990.
No, it was not.
This was what, 2007, 2006?
Dude, I'm old, but I'm not that old. So
yeah, okay.
This was
just to clarify.
No, so this would have been in 2000, 2001 maybe. I think that's when I first got my first one. So 1990 NA. Had the signs of rod knock, which I didn't even know what rod knock was, or a head gasket.
Oh, that's pushing you through the ringer right there.
My father had a shop, an automotive repair shop for almost 20 years. One thing led to another. I ended up getting it.
Yeah.
And ended up getting rod knock not too long after that. So that was my very first one that I had. Took the head off, learned about it, went into a different Supra, and then parts for that one, and then I finally ended up getting one in, I think in college was my first turbo.
Okay.
Running. That was my high horsepower one.
Right. All like 250 horsepower.
Yeah. I think the car made like 380 wheel.
Well, dude, back then that's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean that.
And that was like totally thrown together. This was all based on Super Forums and Supermania knowledge. So
Lexus MAF, 550cc injector,
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Nowadays, everyone like frowns upon that. I see so much flack on that stuff.
Yeah. So I had a lot of HKS parts. So it's called Alphabet Soup. So I had the HKS, the VPC, AVCR.
Oh God.
GCC. I'm sure 90s junkies know exactly what I'm talking about.
For those of you that don't know, back then these computers were not. You're not capable of tuning them. I'm sure somebody cracked them. They're still not. Okay, I was gonna say I'm sure there might be somebody out there, but back then, in order to convert these from MAF to speed density, you had to get the HKS VPC, which is a vein processing controller or something along those lines. And then with that, to tune the air fuel ratio, you had to get the Apexi AFC controller to tune the air fuels, but that could only do so much because then you need something to control your ignition timing, which I don't even know. Could you do the ignition timing with the VPC? I don't think you could.
There are so many different.
You just have to work with a distributor as you're cranking boost up. It was a nightmare and a recipe for disaster, which is when you have all that stuff working together, there's so much that could just go wrong at any point.
At the same time, you got to think about the Mark IV and where we were at with the Mark IV at the same time.
Right.
You know, all the attention from the aftermarket companies, you're not looking at the Mark III any longer. You've got the Mark IV, you've got the 2JZ platform.
Right.
They're thinking of what's the future. They know what these things are capable of. And you also have the FD RX-7, you've got your 300ZX, right? You've got all this attention everywhere. So the Mark III just kind of, because of the troubles that it had back then that we didn't know as much about now that we do now, it just kind of gets pushed to the wayside,
right?
In my opinion.
And nowadays, absolutely, 100% right. And I remember hearing back like 2010, 2012 era, like the 7M is just as capable of a 2JZ. Well, now I think we've come to fruition that it certainly is not quite there, but it's definitely more capable than so many people gave it. It's crazy when you see a high horsepower Mark III. The first thing you think of is
why?
Well, and 2JZ. 2JZ is like what 99% of the people say, just swap to that, save yourself the headache. You could probably get away with 500-600 horsepower very comfortably on the 7M. At what power would you say the bottom end typically comes apart on these?
Want to say
obviously
probably
E85 and all the whole
and nowadays it's fine. So I don't remember what exactly the 7M record is right now. But Victor again, an induction, they were in the 700 range.
Really?
Now, wasn't stock bottom end, but with light, a piston swap and some rods and stuff like that. So I mean, there's cars like that, and they're definitely out there. It's capable, sure.
Right.
How long is that gonna live? That's who knows.
Now, obviously, these cars are heavy. Like they're not lightweights by any means. I know people say like 300ZX chassis. Obviously, everyone says they're heavy.
I know how you
there's
feel about
so
that.
many different. But the thing is there's so many different chassis and choices to pick from with the 300ZX. Like obviously the 2+2 automatic twin turbo T-top is going to be the heaviest one, but those only came out in Japan and they're like 3,500 pounds. So like, what is your take on as far as the weight on these?
I don't know exactly, to be perfectly honest. I mean, between the hard tops and the target top, and the driving experience is a big difference. I would say more so than the actual weight of the car.
Gotcha.
Like if you take the target top off, I don't know if you've had the top off on yours and driven it and go around, let's say some of these twisty roads, and then you put the hard top on, or the top back on, oh shit, what a difference.
Yeah, so I didn't tell you guys guys this, but I took the target top off of mine one day and drove it around. Right about 50 miles an hour, I can feel the rear end shake. It feels almost like the tire's out of balance. The thing is, for me, I cannot stand soft top convertibles. I hate the looks. The only one that deserves okay by me is the Miata. Everything else looks freaking horrible. What do you think on that?
No, for sure. And that's kind of my favorite part of this car, because you can take, it is a hardtop.
Yeah.
The Corvette kind of has the same idea. And
I forget they even come, like the roof even comes off, because you're so used to seeing them on the cars, and then they come off, you're like, oh, that looks really good. Help me out with, because there were obviously different trim levels and packages with these, like any other car, except the biggest thing here is that there was one in particular I know, well, engine-wise, that many people don't even know about. And that was the 1G GTE. In the US, obviously, we only got the 7M, non-turbo and turbo. But what was like, what was the actual time frame, I guess, for the motors and packages coming out in Japan versus the US?
There was a guy in college that had a 1G Mark III.
Dude, I didn't even know those existed.
Neither did I until I saw it. I actually tried to correct him as to what he had, and there's like,
no, that's a 1J.
And
no,
sure enough, he's like, no, take a look. Yeah, between that, obviously the 1J, they've got the twin turbo R. As far as trim levels go, which is, I think it had a few extra goodies, and
it made a little bit more power too, right?
A little bit more power. I think it had some lightweight bits on it as well. But yeah, Japan had all the cool stuff, but I don't know.
I've heard of like narrow and wide fenders on these too, which is like.
When I think of America, I don't think of narrow. I think of us,
they're all big cars,
big boys,
big
and
people.
big cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So which was a higher trim, the 1J or the 7M?
Oh, I'd probably say the 1J, because it had more variations and stuff like that.
It made a little bit more power too, I think, but it was a smaller displacement.
Yeah, and over here we're just talking about 7M, the GTE and the GE. But
we just got the 7M, which they mistook the head bolts torque for and swapped out the head gasket at the last minute, because that's not important or anything.
You don't need head bolts where we're going.
just weld the head to the bottom end. All right, so I said in the beginning of this video that this car is mostly stock. It's still a factory ECU and electronics and all that stuff, stock boost level. How many miles are actually on this car?
110.
110. You actually have more miles than I do on mine. Dang, okay. Either way, 100,000 miles on what, a 35-year-old car is not bad at all. I mean, not that mileage really matters as long as you maintain the vehicles and take care of them.
That's the big part, yeah.
So, what are we looking at here? What exactly, what have you done? I see a big shiny radiator.
Yeah, the shining joy of this vehicle is this battery. So
not this, none of this.
None of that stuff. It's this green battery that is the bane of my existence. I've never wanted a dead battery more than I do now, and I shouldn't even say this, but
I mean, there's spray paint.
Dude, I've looked into it. Can you wrap a battery cover? So factory intercooler stuff, but the first modification you'll see probably is going to be this Koyorad radiator. The fan shroud, that's actually a lot of Mark III guys. First thing that they notice is that, because it's intact.
Very clean.
Yep. It also came.
See the blow-off valve.
Yep. Came with an HKS blow-off valve in that pipe. So that was
so funny, because that's literally like the same. That's the only thing under the engine bay in my car that is modified. I don't know if it. I mean, I love the period correctness of honestly both of these cars, and I used to hate those blow-off valves. Honestly, the sound of the exhaust note and the period correctness, I can't say anything more than that.
Yeah, no,
it works.
For sure. Everything else here, the CT26 there is stock.
Stock boost and everything else, right?
Yeah, stock boost. The only other power adders, if you want to call it that, is going to be an HKS downpipe. I never thought I'd put one of those on there because the factory elbow is very restrictive to the turbo down to the downpipe.
Okay.
That's a factory elbow that's on the car. HKS doesn't replace that.
Really?
Yeah, so I could definitely find an elbow for it, but I'm actually I'm happy and content with that.
Nice.
The HKS downpipe goes out to an HKS silent power catback. This is a car that you can work on with your kids, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
That's a big plus for me. It also has a head gasket, ARP head stud conversion.
So any future plans for the car? What do you got? Are you going 2JZ? Would you ever go 2JZ?
2024, 2025, this is going to be what it looks like for the most part.
Right, okay.
There's actually a motor at the shop Basically,
with your name on it?
With my name on it, if I want it.
Okay.
So those guys, they have a phenomenal engine program over at Induction Performance.
Yeah.
This is not a commercial for them or anything. They don't pay me to say any of that, but I just say that because I work there and I've seen what they've got. Realistically, the next thing that I think I will do, that I'd like to do, is a set of wheels.
Yeah.
I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars to customers, and you know, I was like, man, I've never done that for myself. So
Right.
I would love to build a set of wheels.
That's cool.
That would be realistically my next goal, I think.
Yeah. Ultimate end goal with this car.
With this car specifically, it deserves, if it's going to be modified past what it is, it would need to be really, really well done.
Really?
So
Okay.
I would do, yeah, for sure, a 2JZ would be fantastic for this, but
How much power would you be looking for?
for the way that I drive, like that 750, 800 wheel is
Plenty.
way more than I would need, but
Yeah.
the ability to turn it up like a dyno queen type of thing, to you know, throw some fuel in there, turn the boost up, and go, you know, break 1,000. Yeah.
So would you ever do a T56, or would you try to find a V160? Because obviously the R154 would be questionable at that.
No, R154 for what it is now, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a little notchy and stuff, but it's period correct.
Right.
So you mentioned Fernando's car. His is a V160 with that 2J in it. Correct.
Basically, you would want Fernando's car, just not as turned up.
Yeah, he doesn't know it, but I have a spare key to that car. So, no, his car is basically perfect.
Yeah,
but it's perfect
really
for him.
Yeah.
You know, that car makes 1,400 or 1,500 wheel.
Jesus Christ.
You know, and you know, Fernando could handle.
He's got
that.
AC in that too, doesn't he?
He has AC.
1,400 horsepower Mark III with AC. Y'all, if y'all don't know of Fernando's red Mark III, like, you need to go check it out.
Yeah, you'll see that at FL2K. We plan to have a bunch of Mark IIIs. Actually, we got to get you there at FL2K.
I can't bring two cars. I'm one person. I'll see who all goes to FL2K. Usually there's not a bunch of Z32s that show up. Well, there's usually one racing the entire event, and nobody else can make it because their cars are down because we're all broke. But maybe I'll identify as a Mark III that day, incognito.
Yeah.
So we're here in Eli's car. First thing I notice offhand is the immaculate interior he's got. Not to mention, he's got the magic sauce. He's got AC. So this is 91, so we're looking at math is hard. 34 years old, and it's got ice cold AC.
I'm happy with it for sure, and it's got the ball cooler 3000.
Certain Toyotas had this little AC vent down beneath the steering wheel. Now, we all know like seat chillers that blows AC up like from within the seat. But this is like mounted beneath the steering wheel, and it blows ice cold air right up your shorts if you're wearing shorts or skirt. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know about that. It caught me by surprise. Not to mention, like, I always brag about on my channel how my Supra is like the comfiest car I own. Guys, he's got cloth seats in his, and you might say, oh, cloth seats, ew. But like,
and it's held up for this long too.
It hugs you when you sit down in the seat.
I've had leather in the past, obviously, you know, when you don't take care of leather, or the previous owner hasn't taken care of it, then of course it cracks, and then it turns nasty, and then it's just a whole thing to deal with.
I don't know, Japan was on something in the 90s all the way up through the early 2000s. Like, they had their cars down to a science. Like, everything about it was just top notch, top quality. There are certain eras with the automotive industry that just come through and shine. And it's not always, obviously, like the 60s you had the muscle cars. Like the 90s it was the JDM cars. Like, who knows what's gonna be next around. By the way, I don't think I mentioned this. Maybe I did. I would not have my Supra if it wasn't for this guy. So this guy is entirely to blame for all of this.
No, it's actually my wife's fault.
Oh yeah, it's his wife's fault, which is completely back-asswards of how it...
Get yourself a wife or a girlfriend or a companion that looks out for Supras for
finds
you.
cars for you.
She was driving home randomly on a street that we actually don't even normally go through. She sees this black Supra on the side of the road, and the first thing she does is take a picture of it, and she texts me and says, "For sale, interested?" with a question mark or something like that. I literally ran to my car. I drove there. It was all locked up. Saw it. I was like, no freaking way. And I'm like, wait a minute. Right up the street, you know, Billy's here, so he might, and he's always talked about it. And
Yeah.
so I text him, I text you right away. I think as soon as on the way home or something, and within a day or so, you had
I had gone
a deal.
out to look at it, yeah.
But also to add to that, to bring him up again, my son,
Yeah.
you know, and my daughters, it's going to be Dad's car, right? Like it's going to be like, oh, Dad's got this old car, and they're not going to know much about it now. You know, they're learning about it. Like I said,
but it'll be forever ingrained in their memory.
For sure. The smell. You start smelling these things, and like my kids are like, "I love the way your car smells," and I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's like
That's you did it.
I said,
you did it.
Immediately, I'm like, "Let's go out for ice cream. I love you." Like
You're
that's the best thing you can ever tell me.
Yeah.
When they get into a car, they're gonna have their own experiences with them. I don't know what they're gonna be driving. Hopefully something safe, right? But then I start thinking about, well, what was I driving when I was, you know, when they're gonna be in that age?
Tin Can CRX.
Yeah.
You know, like
doing crazy shit.
Oof.
So
But
to kind of circle back to all the conversations we've had today about future plans, I don't want to lose the heart and soul of what this car is, why I bought it, which was to share these experiences with friends, with family, and just the community. Because, and you do hear those stories. I'm kind of an introvert myself, but something about these cars bring out the social side of myself where I love to hear stories.
Smell. There's a lot of paint in here.
It's a lot of that, and also the head high that I'm experiencing right now. It gets me talking, but
but I think we're gonna end it on this note because this has been a great drive. I really appreciate it.
You owe me like $60 in fuel.
Dang! So, how about miles per gallon?
It's not a bad deal if you don't think about it.
All right. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll catch y'all next time. See ya.
Later.